Where's everybody?
Hey everyone, happy Monday.
Right.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining in again this week. So just a reminder for the week 4 milestones, we'll be circling back on those next week. Today we have an agenda of kind of going through a workshopping session. So um, for those of you that are here, that's great. We're going to try to pull from some of your specific use cases. I'm going to share as well. Um, just some quick high level notes of what I kind of put together on how to think about the different topics that we are going to cover today. So just give me 1 second. I'm going to share this in both the WhatsApp group as well as the chat here. All right, so you guys should all have access to these notes that I kind of just put together over the weekend, but just some thoughts. I'll start sharing my screen, and as we go through this, I'm going to ask if you. This is going to be like interactive, so I want to. Again, the goal here is try to pull and give as much uh, specificity to your unique use case. And so if there's people here that want to utilize their use case as the case for us to go through live, I'm going to ask you at different points to do that. We can do a different use case for these different workshopping sessions. And that way, at least yours will be done and others could follow along and do something similar on their own. So four things that we're going to attempt to cover. For sure, these three, but then we'll see how we get to the fourth one potentially. So one is how to turn a survey into a lead qualification magnet. And actually, what does that mean? What does it look like? What do you do with it? And how do you leverage this? The second one is going to be how to scale a go-to-market motion that's working manually. I think some of you guys are already in this bucket where you figure out, a way to generate meetings and sales conversations, but you've gotten like one or two and you need to figure out how to do, 10 to 12, right? The third one is going to be the go-to-market slide for investors. We have an example for here, somebody, Sarah, that shared with us, her current go-to-market slide or notes, and we're going to try to figure out how to turn that into a slide for investors. Um, and then the last thing here is, again, we might cover this is sales process, which is, you know, um, this is from Liz, but specifically she's dealing with how to convert from the proposal stage into like a paid customer or pilot. And she's getting stuck because I think that there is a unset expectations from the buyer side. And how do you get them to align so that both you as a seller and them as the buyer have a thorough understanding of what the timeline of next steps are, all the way from, you know, ideally from like the first demo to then customer conversion. And there might be anywhere from depending upon who the ICP is, 3 to 10 mini steps that might have to happen within there. But how do we define what those things are? And I'm going to walk you guys through that. So those are the things we're going to cover. So just think about where your company or where you, any of you guys that are willing to share your company's use case for any of these 4 exercises, and then we'll walk through it in real time together. Um, some of you guys have already done this, which is like started to create a survey form. Some of you guys have shared this already. So uh, anybody want to share what they've already done, and then I can kind of review it in real time, and then I actually probably will recreate it for you so that it can be more usable for this context. All right, cool. Chris, go for it.
Perfect. Should I just send you I'll put
Yeah, send me
put it
the
in
link.
the
Yep,
chat.
yep. And then just allow me to open it up. Perfect. Cool. This is awesome. I love this. So SMB broker workflow deal flow survey. All right, we're looking to understand how brokers source. So again, any of you guys that are gonna that want to reduplicate this process or just duplicate the process, open up like a Google form. I have one here. So this is a completely blank. So I'm gonna be creating a brand new one as well with you, using Chris as a frame, Chris's form as a framework, but I'm gonna redesign it for how I typically would structure it. So I'm just going to use this first as an understanding of what his is, and you guys can do this in real time of like how you want to do it. All right, so we're looking to understand how brokers source deals, qualify buyers, run diligence, and manage transactions. Your insights will help improve systems, workflows, and visibility in the SMB acquisition space, and we'll share aggregated findings with the broader broker and buyer community. All right, cool. So first, email, first name, email address again, LinkedIn profile, city, state, what type of business. What are the typical SD evaluations? Okay, these are more like qualification questions, I'm assuming. Okay, qualification questions, qualification questions. Okay, a lot of qualifiers in here, so I'm going to try to, Chris, we'll talk through it, but yeah, we'll go
Sure.
through this. Okay, um, cool. So this is pretty hefty for sure. If I'm coming in here, this is a lot of information for me to just and you guys can all think about it from a user's perspective, right? From a buyer's perspective, you guys are seeing this for the first time as well, right? So for the first time, you guys can comment in the comment in the chat section, right? But like, what are your guys' first thoughts, right? And it's probably there's a lot of language here. This is probably going to be time consuming. Bodhi, can feel free to share in chat what your notes are.
Oh,
So Q,
I was asking a question.
sure,
I'm guessing this survey is to hone in on your ICP. Okay, cool.
yeah. Um, Yeah, it's just a lot. Anyways, so I think we're all in consensus on that. So like how do we make this better, right? So uh
I can also give
this is
you
target
editing access, by the way, if you need to. You can delete stuff.
I'm good. No, this is fine. I'm going to recreate the new one. So this is going to give us a summation of like who this is going to. These are SMB brokers, right? So these are small, medium-sized business brokers, right? They're the types of brokers that are transacting or they're selling or buying for a third party small businesses, right? And small businesses could be anything just to kind of talk it out so everybody's on the same page. It could be anything from like a laundry store to a gas station or something along those lines. Okay, cool. So, uh, so I might do something like this, like either like fourth quarter or like end of year, but fourth quarter to me it makes sense. So fourth quarter 2025 SME broker market research study. So like something that chops it up to the place where it's like I can generalize this enough that it doesn't feel too specific to me that you're trying that it's like there's such a unique gain that you're trying to position it for, right? So like trying to make it a little bit more generalized. A lot of the times for these kinds of like studies too, I mean, I do like an incentivized deal. Like I'll give like a $5 Starbucks gift card for people to fill it out. Like to be honest, if you can get 20 people, to fill it out at $5 each, it's $100. Like that 20, and usually I would say like a good like threshold is like 30 completions is going to give you enough data, statistically speaking, to kind of identify certain themes and trends. I mean, that's on the lowest end, but like 30 is a good number for everybody to kind of aim for. Um, and anything more than that is just going to be icing. So I think like just think of it from that perspective. That's your goal is you're trying to get to like 30. And then the framework of kind of like how to structure this is think about it this way. So like the first, you think about it like, I think about it like in three sections. So there's going to be profiling and contact data, which we have here, right? So like that's the first name, email address, LinkedIn profile, city and state. How does this help you? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, because there's different rules in different states. So like in
Okay.
Nevada versus New York, they have different rules.
Okay. But that's probably something you could probably find from their LinkedIn profile, right? Okay.
That's true.
Um, Probably none of this other stuff you're gonna be able to find in their LinkedIn. Okay, but like, so I will do something like this. Just gonna break it up into section. This will be full name, LinkedIn profile, URL. And then again, if I'm giving like a $5 Starbucks gift card, this is the best way to kind of frame it, or like some kind of incentive. What's the best email? And this is can also you can ask for a phone number to send your. You can just see how that kind of frames it a little bit, in a way where somebody is not going to really second guess filling this out versus people tend to second guess when you're asking for contact data with no context to it, right? Like other than probably it's going to be for selling purposes, right? Like if you think about anytime you've given up contact data, it's probably because there's like a giveaway or there's some kind of lure that's happening that you're like, oh, okay. And then the psychology of it, you just kind of don't think twice because that's the way that you're going to redeem it. So that's the only thinking around that, right? So again, that's not going to be for everybody, but you could also just frame it where it's like, what's the best email to if you can't afford, the 100 to a couple $100 to the gift cards, that's fine. Just know that you're gonna probably gonna have to get higher reach to get to like 30 plus, which is fine. But what's the best email to send a copy of the research insights, right? So it's like again, you're gonna position it then instead of like $5 for your $5 Starbucks gift card for your feedback, it'll be like, 5 minutes of your time and we'll share with you market research insights, as it pertains to the SME broker industry, right? So like find out, what other brokers are dealing with, in 2025, right? Or like, and that's kind of what you could change this to that title, which is like something that's a little bit more catchy for that. So there's two versions of doing it. One is like incentivized approach, which is basically just going to be a higher conversion rate, right? If you can afford it, I would tend to do that. And then the second version, if you can't afford it, would just be lower conversion rate, which just means you need to get more impressions, more eyeballs onto it to get to the number that you need, like the 30 completion threshold, right? And in that case, you're just going to need to, instead of the trade-off, the lure is going to be market research insights. And just think about it from the perspective of that end user, where it's like, there's certain industries where they are very, very siloed off. And so, as somebody that's siloed off, if there's like a struggle in that industry, like I think about And a good example would be whoever I forget I think it might be Kathleen, but if you're dealing with like logistics companies or 3PLs, like fucking tariffs is a big issue right now, like for 2025, right? It's like it's gone freaking like a roller coaster and it's impacting. I know because I have friends in this industry, which is like it's impacting the way that they do taxes on a state level, and that can widely affect their profit loss for the year. And it's a big problem. And so like that's a siloed issue where they don't necessarily know how other 3PLs or logistics companies, or import export companies might be dealing with it. So they're going to want to have that visibility. And so that might be actually like a better lure than a gift card in those cases, which is like, hey, how are other whatever 3PLs dealing with tariffs in 2025? If you fill out the survey, we're going to share with you the insights of like 100 others that have also gone through this experience, and we're going to share with you the themes and trends. That could be equally, if not more valuable. You need to use your best judgment based on who your ICP is to figure out what's the best lure. But you guys get how that's a little bit positioned differently than how this might come across, right? So again, like this is like again good things to maybe leverage chat for. So I might go into like chat and just be like, what's the biggest issues for SMB brokers in 2025? Yeah, so okay, this makes sense, right? So credit, right? Like even, how recently Fed just lowered rates. How are they thinking about the lower rates as it pertains to their business, right? Do things that are time relevant. So hopefully that helps you guys. I'm not going to go much deeper than that, but I think gives you like an understanding how to thematically run this. And again, going back to this example, I'm just limiting this to probably 3 questions because I can pull company info, I can pull a job title from their LinkedIn profile URL. So I'm not gonna like make it where I'm going to ask additional questions. There's might be other things that is more relevant for you. So things like industry or like things that you may not be able to pull from their LinkedIn, right? Where you can use a scraping tool to just get all that other data. I would maybe ask for it here. Contact information, right? So like best email or phone. It just depends again, like, where is your ICP the most reachable on, right? And so I wouldn't necessarily ask for both, but I would definitely like ask for email or phone number, and then like phone number, you could position it again, like what's the best phone to text you a link to the results, right? Or like to text you the gift card info, right? So it's like you can just replace it, just be creative, but replace the lure for whatever contact point you're trying to get. Make sense for anybody? Any questions there so far? Everybody good? Cool. All right. So then moving on to the next section, which would just be then um, the qualification questions, right? So these are going to be the things that's unique to every person. There's a lot of questions I think in here that like you could probably reserve for a call. But like for me, if you had to simplify it in terms of like what you're potentially trying, I know you're trying to like narrow down on ICP and all this stuff, but like within the SMB broker space, what are you trying to solve for them?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think for me, I'm thinking about either there are not enough leads. So I went dog food or whatever it's called, dog fooding. I went to sign up for like a brokerage to sign it up. And even the process was a little bit difficult for getting them like essentially like top of funnel. And then my other process is just the due diligence. A lot of deals from what I've heard, they fall through because, X, Y, and Z for their due diligence. So trying to give them as much information as possible, either through leads or through due diligence. That's my hypothesis, at least. That I
So
wanted to.
what would be the pain? How would you position the pain for them? Like, I would think maybe it's two different questions, right? So it's like,
Mhm.
how big of an issue is lead generation for your business?
Mhm.
Or like, how big of an issue is the due diligence process? Or maybe that's not even the best way to phrase it, but like, what percentage of your deals fail because of like, the fail is like it's a
Or
critical
fall
word,
through.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
or fall through. But like you're trying to create urgency, so I'm okay with being more deliberate about it. So like how many deals fail or how many deals like, do you lose, right? Lose, fail, those kinds of things, trigger words to help you get the point across. How many deals do you lose because of a due diligence issue, right?
Yeah.
Um, so that might be something, right? Uh, so I would, and then I don't know how you would how would you phrase like the lead question?
I think I tried to phrase it on the questionnaire. Like I was talking about, like where are you at with your top of funnel? Like where I was trying to figure out, is it top of funnel, middle of funnel, or bottom of funnel? Where are you struggling the most? It should be near the bottom. I know there's a lot of stuff on there, but it should be that one. How efficient is your deal funnel, deal stages? If you scroll down a little bit more, yeah, like right there. It should be the quadrant with all those boxes. Yeah. I was trying to figure out, I don't know if it's the leads that they're struggling with, or is it closing the deal, or is it due diligence? Like due diligence is like more like in the middle of funnel. So I was trying to figure out. That's why I just like slap everything on there and
Yeah,
hopefully.
so the thing is you need to kind of create your own thesis, right? So you need to
Yeah.
lead them down that road.
Mm.
That's for everybody, right? So you guys need to like you need to ask questions that you have some thesis on, right? That you're trying to validate or disprove. For the most part. That's what you're, and so you can create, you could do this exercise over and over and over again, right? So you could disprove, right? Completely like everybody says, you know, lead sourcing is not the issue, right? All right, cool. Scrap that form and go to a new batch, right? And like do another one and like is the issue due diligence, right? And then if you get so I would do it that way versus like trying to get what I mean, like blanket the whole damn thing because you're then just setting yourself up for a super low conversion rate and it's going to be very difficult to get to 30, right? You're just making it more challenging. Not to say it's impossible, but it's going to maybe take you like a couple months to get to 30 that way versus just like weekly sprints on like 10 question survey or less, right? By making some of these assumptions and then, what I mean, like and then just eliminating that from your roadmap, right? So that's kind of how I would frame it. So if we were to narrow it down, what do you think the biggest issue is potentially?
I think the biggest issue for me is I think it's
Issue
hard.
and I guess like the biggest issue that you're most inclined to solve for that can yield the most financial opportunity.
That's a good question. I would say. So I'll give you the breakdown. So I'm sure you know this, right? About brokers, they get like an X percent when they close the
Yes.
deal. So I think they're okay paying. I think my theory is I think they're okay paying for due diligence, like helping making sure that the buyer or seller has
So
enough
you then
information.
want to validate how much. So you need to validate whether due diligence is an issue.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so that's the biggest thing, right? So okay, so right, so something like this, right? Maybe it's like, and to me, I phrase it as like whatever's insignificant to significant, right? So significant meaning there's a big problem. So um, and it's relative to each industry, but in this case, like significant might be like if they lose more than 20%, right? Anything, or like 15%, right? Like it doesn't have to be 90% or 50%, right? But like if they're losing more than 20%, like meaning that they've done everything up to that stage, right? So it's a significant loss of time spent on the deal. So I don't know what that breakdown is, but if I was just to take a guess here, I would be like less than 5%, 5 to 10%, 10 to 20%, right? 20% or more, something like that, right? And that's how I would start framing it. This, if it's like maybe 10%, 10 to 20%, I'm seeing majority fall into here. This might frame it as like this is a big problem that potentially, and you can work the math, right? You could basically attach like a figure to what percentage that they could, or what if they're losing that many deals and they have X amount of deals a year, you could probably guesstimate how much they're losing. Does that make sense?
Yep, makes
So
sense.
again, be creative with how you want to position this. I'm doing this on the fly and I don't know the industry well, but this is kind of how I would think about it. So frame it that way. Which percentage of deals are lost at the due diligence stage? This is essentially trying to answer this point, which is like, Are you currently dealing with XYZ problem? And on a scale of 1 to 5, how big of a pain is it? Okay. You can always frame it that way, but if there's a better, more nuanced granularity that you can get to, in this case, I think it's better to understand the percentage of deals lost, somehow, or like, yeah, or even like breaking it down. It's like, how much are they potentially leaving on the table at the due diligence phase? Like, those are things that I would probably bring up because it's more tangible. Um, and then And then I would do a logic-based thing. So if it's like 10 to 20% or 20% or more, right, then I would frame it where uh, go to section based on the answer, right? So then here I would have them go to section two. And in section two, what I would do, because now these are the ones that are qualified, right? You guys see how this works? If we're assuming 10% or more is an issue, right? So then we're going to say, um, I can just leave this blank, but what I would do here is like, if there was a solution that solved for 100% conversion at the due diligence stage, would you be open to learning more? Right. And this is where like you're basically getting an opt-in, or they're basically qualifying themselves at this point as a sales qualified lead for an additional follow-up. Right. So I always try to do this, which is a conversion related question. You could always say it's like, you could also position this as a pricing question. So like, hey, if there's a solution that's solved for XYZ, how valuable would this be to you? Or how much are you paying for an alternative that's solving X, Y, and Z problem, right? And then you can just frame it that way so you can understand potentially how much you could charge for a solution. It also then answers by default, like they would pay for the solution. Okay. So, and then I would then try to follow up with them later. Clear with that so far?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just had one quick question for understanding their current process. Like, I know we asked like how many lost deals go through due diligence that fell through. Would it make sense to ask them, or maybe better to ask them during the call about, hey, what's your current process? Do you use like ChatGPT? Do you use Zapier? Do you
Those are
have
things I
them?
would ask on a call.
Okay,
You know what I mean?
got
Like
it.
those are, make sure you differentiate between like a survey, which is like it's basically like a quick ask, a quick qualifier, right? Versus a call. And this goes back to the sales process. Typically, there's two calls, right? There's a discovery call in the sales process, and then there's actual product demonstration for B2B solutions, right? So like the discovery call is basically a more detailed version of what we're doing on this, right? We're just basically trying to validate if there's a need in the market, or we're using this as a quick way to generate like a leads list, right? That's it. This is not really like tied too heavily into the sales process, other than potentially like the top to the middle of the funnel. Okay. Now, if we're talking about middle of funnel, that's ideally done through a call. Like that's the discovery call process. And that's even preceding the demo. And that's where you would maybe get, all right, somebody's opted in yes to this, right? Like then then that's the next layer. That would be like, yes, let's get them into a discovery call, right? And then we need to qualify if they actually make sense as a customer. Does that clarify?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then maybe I'm jumping the gun here, but I don't have like a product yet, or I don't know if
Understood.
it's going to be like a consulting thing that I would want to do.
Sure.
So I don't know what if it makes sense to ask another question on that or just keep it that simple.
Keep it that simple.
Cool.
We're just trying to get validate what you can get some color on so you can do the next step. You're not going to like solve for everything in this form, right? You're just trying to get enough intelligence so you can move to the next step. Meaning that, look, if you can get people to validate the fact that there is a issue here at the due diligence stage, right? And that, look, let's just imagine you get 30 responses and like 25, say 20% or more, and 20 out of those 25 say yes, they're interested in learning more. Like, that's a fucking green light, right? Now, if you get 0 and 0, That's a red light. Like what's the point of getting all this other information that just, what I mean? Like there's no point in either pursuing or that's all you're trying to figure out. Is this give you enough confidence to move to the next step? Which is like, should this then be a product or should this be a consultative service, right? And that could happen if you have 20 out of 25 saying yes. Talk to them and be like, what does that look like? What's better for you? So that's where how I would structure. Think about it that way. This is trying to just get you to the next step. Okay. Um, so that gets you so far. One second, Liz. We'll come back to questions after this. So far that kind of gets you to qualification questions, profiling, and then we want to again, like if we're using this for industry insight, we're not doing the, what have you, um, the some kind of gift card give back. Then I would push this to the end, and I would do like one or two questions that's like industry specific. These are like the altruistic questions. So it has nothing to do with your business. It's just like, what can I ask them that will give them value back that they would like to know? So this goes back to, again, maybe like let's ask chat. And again, if you guys probably have more domain expertise on whatever it is that you guys are doing, so this is, maybe not as you don't need to use chat for it, but yeah. And I'm just gonna say, this kind of goes in line also with what you were talking about. All right, I'm not gonna fill in the rest, but you kind of get the point, right? So like I would ask to at least provide two of these things. So again, you guys can figure out what's going to create the most value for them, but then I would insert them here, and then I would ask the selfish questions later, right? So at least you're building up trust, right? So it's like you're just asking some basic profile questions, nothing too crazy, and then you're asking for contact information, but you're trading it for some kind of lure, right? And then now you're getting into, okay, we're going to ask you the questions that you want to know the answers to from all your other peers, right? So these are the questions, and then you ask the now it's this feels now good faith. All of a sudden you ask them this question that's more selfish. You kind of you get how it works. All right, now I'll take some questions on this before we move to the next one.
Hi, Chris. I had a question. This is
Yeah,
Liz.
yeah,
Um, I actually have a similar issue, not issue, like I guess a really good issue as Chris. Some of my customers are not particularly interested in the product that we're building, but rather they're more interested in hiring us as consultants.
sure.
What are your thoughts about that, and how do we, obviously pick and choose whether they're like a qualified customer, if that's the case? Like, do we work
Yeah,
with it?
I think, yeah, at the end of the day, that's something you guys have to decide, right? So this happens a lot. Um, Service is not necessarily scalable, right? So you have to make a decision. Number one, are you trying to build a scalable business, or are you looking to build in consultation agency, right? Like a consultation business. It's just two very different models, and there's no right or wrong. What happens sometimes is like you're not gonna the thing is you're not gonna get external investment. You're no VC is gonna invest in like a service business first, like a service first business, if that makes sense,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Because of that scalability limitation, right? So, and you got to be then afraid to say no, we don't do that, and you're
Okay.
leaving money on the table, which a lot of founders are scared to do. That's the honest answer. Now,
Okay.
so you have to just make the decision. Are we building a service business, which is again completely okay, but that's typically like a $5-10 million a year business when healthy, right? Versus a product-led business, which is 100 million billion-dollar type of business, right? That has that kind of potential outcome.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you,
Neither
Chris.
one's wrong. Just what are you trying to do? And you need to pick that lane and stay in it.
Yeah. I think part of our thinking is we could use some of the initial consulting customers to help build up our success case and our
That's
like a data.
fine, but then you just know that's going to impact fundraising.
Okay.
And yeah, and again, like that's fine because you can use that. There are companies that will do that and bootstrap it, right? And use the consultation money. Like I know a lot of like agencies that have done this before they started, and they'll actually like build out products. They'll spin off scalable products from the agency. So they have the service business, but then they'll spin off like SaaS products from the agency and then have them run as separate businesses, right? But you're not doing both within the same organization,
I see. Okay.
right?
And is that approach going to impact fundraising as well, you think?
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. For sure it will. Yeah, because they're gonna be like it's one because it could be a way it could be part of your narrative of like how you're gonna build the product, right? Uh but then you're not gonna be able to raise it's gonna be much more challenging to raise during that time. And then also they're gonna be like now you're doing consultation or consulting, that's taking time away from building the scalable product and then like getting customers in a scalable way,
Okay.
right? Like they don't want you to be able to focus on five consulting clients. They want you to get 500, you know what I mean, like paid clients on recurring basis,
Yeah.
customers, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yep. Al Morse.
Hey, I'm still working on a form here. Main question I had was just how are you incentivizing people to fill out these kinds of forms? Like, is this like a
Like I
giveaway some AirPods kind of
like I just
situation,
no,
or?
I mean I wouldn't do giveaways because I mean I've tested this stuff. You can try it. Some industries like maybe if it's a direct to consumer thing, they might do that. But like giveaways where there's only one winner, um, versus like, hey, I'll just buy you a cup of coffee. Like, you know, if you do $5 gift cards for Starbucks and you swap that for the cost of the AirPods, you're gonna get to the 30 number for probably just around the same price as the AirPods, and it's gonna take less time.
Sure. So you're talking about getting like a custom gift card and sending it to each person?
You just log into a Starbucks account and you just send them $5 gift cards.
Oh, okay, cool. Good tip.
Yeah,
Yeah, I have a
cool.
form. I'm just finishing up the form now. Still giving it some thought. I'm gonna probably post a link in the chat in like 5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean that's again, this is the whole point of this is so you guys know how to do it on your own, right? So
Appreciate it.
cool. All right. How to scale a go-to-market motion that's working manually. Anybody want to share theirs? No takers?
Surprisingly, commenting on people's posts, I get appointments, so I hate it because it's super like non-scalable, but like I've definitely gotten cold DMs because they said, "Oh, I saw you comment on so and so's post." Or just like someone posted something and then I replied, I added them, and then they say, "Oh, yeah, I actually I'm looking to automate my billing." I hate it. It's just so manual. But it works and it works better than adding someone and then cold DMing.
Okay, so
Don't
that's actually
recommend.
not
Like,
that's not
just
actually true where you can't automate it.
oh, okay, replies. Okay.
So if you guys can see my screen real quick.
Yeah, I could see it.
We can see it.
Okay, so your visiting profile.
You may not be able to do it in here, but in
You can do it with the LinkedIn API, or I think Walaxy also supports it.
wait, what? Which one you said?
I think Walaxy supports it. I was just pulling it up from my side to check. A lot of them support liking a post, but I don't know if they support writing a comment because you have to actually read the post and then write the comments. You have to have like a
Yeah,
user
I mean there
integration.
is ways to do it in like there's definitely ways to do it in something like make.com, right? So
Hmm.
Hmm.
if you go
Okay.
to point being is that automate LinkedIn posts comments.
Do you recommend sending forms in LinkedIn emails and messages, or is that something that's better to do by email?
Yeah, distribution, I mean, it doesn't matter. It just depends on how you phrase it. And again, like if you sent it, I mean, again, everything is about context. So if you sent it, for example, to people in your second, third degree networks on LinkedIn and you have some common association, they're more likely to fill it out versus a cold outreach. Same thing with same thing with emails. The I think like you gotta be conscientious, but like dropping it into forums or groups is also a good place to do it. I wouldn't do paid lures that way because people are just gonna, a lot of it's probably just gonna be crappy. But like, um, yeah, you if you have good quality members in a specific group and it's not like oversaturated with bots, that's where I would do it too.
Makes sense.
Okay, I could do some research. I
Yeah.
guess
So there's ways. What my point is like, there's ways to do. There is
I just
ways to
posted a
comment.
link. Phantom Buster does it.
Yeah, Phantom Buster will do it too.
yeah,
So
I use Phantom Buster to scrape
okay,
posts, so I'll look into commenting automation for sure. So pretty familiar with
okay,
Phantom.
okay. I
It's
mean, we can
that
still.
it looks like crap though. Like that's the thing. But I'll see if maybe I could integrate, some AI into it. I mean, like I'm literally like a technical founder and I work with AI every day, but it's just like these logistics people, they're like totally complaining about people reaching out to them with AI. So I have to figure out how to make the right tweak. So for sure.
Yep, completely understand. Okay.
Okay, cool.
Um,
That's what's worked with me. And that's why I have 3 calls this week that are like call number 3. So hopefully I can close them.
yeah,
So,
I mean, to that point, right? I think like so to that point, I think though it's like maybe we talked about this a little bit last week, but it's like not just there's a few steps to that, right? So like the LinkedIn comments is one way that you've been getting it, right? So that's the channel. And now you know that you can reverse engineer that to get more volume of it instead of just trying to do it manually one by one. But then the other part of it is going to be making sure that you get it, you're commenting on the right people, right? So like getting the right list together of the right ICP. Do you already have a list that you put together that you feel
yeah,
good?
yeah. It's in my LinkedIn Navigator.
Got it. Got it.
So
Okay, cool.
I've already added them, connected with them, sent them messages. So it's like ongoing. So that was
Okay,
pretty good. I use the same system that you use to filter out people. I
got
added
it.
everyone on that list. So I think probably since then, new people have come in, so I have to do it again this week.
Okay, perfect. I mean,
Mhm.
that's a good example. And then I think like also just within there, the ideal situation is that, you're probably noticing, I mean, again, the ideal situation is that you could be able to pass this off so that you don't even have to manage it anymore. So like, what are the themes and trends that you identify that makes it work? Right?
Right.
Like, how are you, and that's maybe the way that you're trying to think about how you're trying to prompt in the AI to actually create a message that is going, that's what you're trying to create a process around, right? Is
Yes.
probably figuring out how do you, how do you make it more binary to see somebody's comment and then to generate whatever the response is, right? That you
Yeah,
have whatever that, I mean, that gut feeling that this is going to probably work. Like you're trying to create the process around that so that it feels more natural, correct?
for real. Yeah, I think I hate to say it, the manual helps because like you can't take in that you can't get data without doing the work at first. And so
Sure.
definitely I have the framework that works. It's literally on content that's not even related to billing at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so funny. It's just like it's either, just 3PLs complaining about something, definitely anything but billing has gotten me like getting DMs from people. It's like the
Yeah.
moment like the farther from billing, the more attracted people want to talk to me. So, yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah, probably makes sense. Okay. So I mean that, but that's also like, I mean, I would just, yeah, I mean, I literally am working with another company that's the thing, right? Which is like they're providing the technical term is like AI test fits, right? Which is for
Mhm.
commercial real estate. But everybody, when people hear the word test fit, even though that's what it's the industry terminology, people just get turned off, right? Like
Right.
versus how are you marketing space plans? Like it's just it's
Mm,
it's just something that I think like when it's like anything else. I mean, I think like even like the term like AI now, right? Like
mhm.
as as people throw it around is like that's a part of their product, right? Like people start like you start wincing a little bit, right? When you
I
hear
don't
it.
even mention it anymore. Just like, oh, a
There you
little bit,
go.
maybe like a sentence. But
Right?
it's always like, especially with operators, because like I feel like different companies have their own personalities, and like logistics people are operators through and
For
through.
sure.
Like
Absolutely.
they don't like any fluff. They don't want to mess around. So I always speak to them about the results, the ROI.
Yeah.
Pretty much it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And I think I mean, yeah, so I think kind of to that point, I think that's what you're trying to figure out is constantly on the messaging side is like how do you how do you get away from what everybody else is doing? You know, it's funny. Yeah, you're always trying to find an original way to say the same thing,
No,
essentially.
for
But
real. Yeah.
yeah,
That's why you
yeah,
should do LinkedIn full time. So
fair. All right, cool. Anybody else want to brace on this topic, or we can kind of skip this and move on to the go-to-market slide for investors?
I just wanted to say, like, doing outbound, cold outbound, would that be part of it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And at what point do you kind of exhaust that list? Because we've sent that same group of people, we've sent like three, four emails until
Yeah,
we feel like they're like, hey, we don't want to receive this anymore. They start complaining or mark you as spam.
100% of them are, or like a percentage of them are.
Well, nobody has complained so far, but we're going to
Yeah.
send them another email this week.
Okay, so this is kind of just the framework for how to think about cold outbound. Okay. So let's just say, for example, in your TAM, you have 10,000, I mean, let's just make it easier. 100,000 contacts that fit your TAM, right? Um, so let's split them into cohorts, 5 cohorts of 20,000 each, right? So in week one, again, this is just we're gonna start cohort one, which is gonna go to 20,000 of those contacts. Week two, cohort two, another 20,000 contacts. And you kind of get the point here. By week five, you're gonna be in cohort five, and then the last 20K contacts, right? So week six comes around. This is where you go back to cohort one,
Oh, okay.
right? Because you've given
So
them 5 week break, essentially.
it's a
Nobody's,
long,
and I think, go ahead.
I mean, it's a long break because they keep saying like you should just hammer them as much as possible.
Well, you hammer until they unsub. So like again, you until they say fuck you or unsubscribe. Yeah.
Right.
And if you're not getting to the point of you get like an FU, you're not being aggressive enough for sure.
But shouldn't I be like starting? going back to doing week one, starting week two or week three, like do alternate weeks or something like that? Or would that be too aggressive?
What do you, what I'm trying, I'm not sure what you mean.
Oh, I mean, like if I start week one with cohort one and then go back like week three and maybe go back and start a new sequence with cohort one.
But why would you do that unless your TAM is like only 100?
Our well, we're not targeting the TAM right now. We're targeting a very specific vendor, and I think they have 400 clients, and so we're just targeting those people for now. And it's worked well because we have the trials going, and we have one yes, but they didn't sign yet because they want to sign in January.
Okay. So out of the 400, I mean, that would, I mean, so the 400, you're just trying to get a response from them.
We want well, we want to convert them. So, but the amount of people that ended up booking out of the 400 was maybe 20. Um, and only 20% opened the email. So only
Okay.
80 of them
Is there,
actually opened
but
the
I mean, I
email.
guess to that point is like, is there a reason that all 400 are expected to convert?
No, but I would like to convert at least 10% of them.
Okay. Um, the 400 that you have from this, is it a specific partnership or what's the relationship that gets you
Well,
these 400?
it's telecom software, and we've built a plugin into it. And so the easiest conversation is like, hey, we have an AI plugin directly into this thing, which a lot of the other AI vendors are not doing. Do you want to see it? And we have a fully featured standalone platform as well. So it's like, it's twofold where you can use the plugin to market to your small businesses, but then you can use the standalone platform for your
Okay, so
medium
out of
and
those
larger
400, do you know if
vendors.
all of them are using that AI plugin actively?
No, no, we
Like,
have the AI plugin, so we're trying to sell them on
yeah,
the idea
yeah,
that,
but are they using whatever you're plugging into actively?
yeah, yeah, they are.
Okay, so they're using that, but do you then, I guess the separate thing is you don't know if they have a need for your product.
No, no.
Okay. So I
Yeah, I
think
mean,
that
out of the conversations that we've had, only like handful of them have said like, "Oh, we don't need this right now." But everyone that we've talked to, their clients are asking for an AI solution and they don't have it. So, using ours would be the best way to do it.
okay. So the first thing is you need to get 400 qualified,
Yes.
right? Like if we're trying, because if you have this, there's a few ways to look at it, right? So number one, I mean, this is a sub-segment of your TAM. So this is not really like cold outbound. This is more of like, I would think of this as more of like account-based marketing, right? So you have account-based marketing is just that you have a smaller sample set. Um, Usually that means, you know, you're selling to like a Fortune 500 company. There's a very limited TAM from a volume perspective. This may not necessarily be the case, but you're trying to just focus on these 400 because you have the AI plugin, right? So,
Yeah.
what's the average deal size that each of these should realize to?
Um, I mean, the way we're selling it is like minimum 2 grand a month plus usage. But like everyone we've talked to, they could convert to being like at least 5 to 10 grand a month, given on the volumes that they're talking about.
Okay, so yeah, so then this could be account-based marketing. And the reason why I bring this up because there's a difference between cold outbound and account-based marketing. Cold outbound is this larger scale, which you potentially
Okay.
also have, right? But
Yeah.
account-based marketing is focusing on deal sizes where it's like 100,000 plus ACVs, annual contract values, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And um, and it substantiates having a account executive. That's where it's like somebody flying out to the customer and meeting with them and taking them out to a steak dinner. That's
Okay.
account-based marketing, right? Going to a conference and then taking somebody out to dinner, relationship building, right? Longer sales cycle of 3 to 6 months, upwards to a year, right? Because you can spend, if it's a 100K deal, theoretically, based on, healthy unit economics, you could spend up to $30,000 to acquire that customer,
Okay.
right? So that if you think about it from that perspective, cold emails doesn't cut it,
Right.
right? Like you need to then figure out because you should be able to spend more if that's the potential deal sizes to acquire that customer. And that goes a little bit to the sales process part of it, but like you need to understand what your unit economics are, right? And then if you're drastically underspending for a large deal size, you're setting yourself for up against competition that's probably doing the account-based marketing and spending a lot more to build a relationship to close that customer.
So what am I like? I guess the question is, what should I be doing to win these customers? Um, should I be
Yeah,
like flying there and like
yeah,
whining and dining them?
yes, that's part of it. That it's
Wow.
figuring out what you can and this is again some of it's like you're gonna need to figure out what the actual like if you're telling me that it's 5 to 10K a month, right? You need to then spend 3 month payback period, so a quarter of that annual contract to acquire that customer.
So if the deal size, let's say it's like 60 grand, so
Yeah,
I'm talking about like at least what, 10
close to
grand,
15.
15
Yeah,
grand?
10 to
Yeah.
10, 15 grand to spend to acquire that customer.
Wow. Okay. And what are
That's
those activities besides just flying there and whining and dining them?
Well, that includes, I mean, that also includes headcount, commissions, right? So then you got to think about like how much time are you spending, right? It could be literally just sending out emails, right? But that might take an account executive a fucking year's worth of time, and you're talking about 100 hours of their time to get to that place, right? Versus the CEO's time to do it in a week to fly out, right? Like it could equate to the same outcome in just a shorter time. Take same amount spent though, if you look at it that way.
And you think it like FaceTime is absolutely necessary, like in-person FaceTime?
If you're close to a 100K deal, yes.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I mean it's difficult. You're competing against others that are doing that.
Okay.
Yeah. Because once you move away from self-service, like somebody can check out with a credit card, that starts becoming more like enterprise sales.
Yeah, because these are all white label partners. None of
Yeah,
them are just,
yeah,
self-service.
yeah, exactly, which is the point. Yeah. So it requires more hand holding both from an acquisition and retention standpoint.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Because even when you acquire them, right, then you're going to need to train them. And this is
Yeah.
again where ideally you're probably going to have somebody fly out and like get all their sales reps into a room at one time somehow, right? So that you can train them how they should sell their clients on buying this product
Right.
because you're white labeling it to them, right?
Yeah.
So you need to educate them on how to educate their customers.
Yeah.
So
They want support with onboarding and sales
yeah,
enablement.
yeah. And that's going to be, you're going to have to white glove the shit out of that too.
Right. Yeah. Have a tall order.
Yeah. So hopefully that helps the way that you kind of think about it. But yeah, I mean, rule of thumb is, I mean, I don't know if you guys have done the work on this, but like CAC to LTV ratio, right? It's like 1 to 3. So you should be spend, your acquisition costs should be about a third of the lifetime value, right, of the customer. Or if it's like enterprise deals, like 100K plus, it's you looking at payback period. Payback period is just basically like how much revenue do you generate per month from that customer, and you're looking at 3 months payback period as a healthy line of just kind of like a rule of thumb. Um, and that's mostly from a
Right.
cash flow perspective. It's just thinking about it from a cash flow perspective, right? So it's like, how much if I have like $1 million in the bank account today, how aggressively can I push on day one to acquire customers with a 3 month payback period if I know I can close them, right? And that just means
Right.
that you're going to be low on cash for the next couple of months, right? So that does cap you, but you can then reinvest after the 3 months because you're going to be past the break even point.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep. Cool. All right, I'll stop there on the cold outbound, and I'm just gonna try to cover at least this one, the go-to-market slide for investors, because I think this also goes back to kind of like a little bit of what Bodhi was talking about. And on this note, do we have Sarah on too?
Yeah, hey.
Okay,
Hi,
cool.
Chris. I'm sorry I was on the way.
No, all good. All right, so we have your slide here. Is this correct? This is for your go-to-market?
Sorry, yeah. I mean, this was part of the deck. I just took out the
Yep.
parts that I thought would be relevant. There's a lot
Sure.
more context, obviously.
Yep, of course. I get it. Sorry, you're cutting in and out.
I'm so sorry. Is it better?
This is better, yeah, but you're cutting a little bit in and out.
Sorry, I just sort of sat in the middle of the way because I had to drive.
Okay, if you're not available to chat, it's okay. We can skip to something else.
I'm available. It's just I'm not sure if you guys can hear me properly, or if we can do it next week. Also, I don't mind. But
Uh, yeah, I mean,
can you hear me?
sorry, it's really rough.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Hold on. Is this better?
It is. I just don't know how consistent
Okay,
it'll be
great.
for like another like 15 minutes, but yeah. We could.
I'm here. I'm all ears.
Okay, is anybody else also having like a difficult time just kind of getting consistent?
Yeah, it's kind of rough.
She's a little
Okay.
laggy.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. It's completely fine. All right. I mean, I think this is a lot of information for the first session anyways, and it's probably give you guys a lot to kind of like think through also. We can table these next two topics to next week. We can go back
Um,
to yeah.
Chris, is there any way I can just ask you a couple questions privately about because I have the only reason I wanted to kind of go over it with you is that I have two VC meetings this week on Thursday and Friday. If I could just get just two questions off you just to get your
Yeah,
advice, that would be perfect for
sure.
me.
Let's do it.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. Thank you. Because I know it's going to bother everyone else also that I'm
Yeah.
laggy.
No,
Great,
it's okay.
thank you.
I mean, we could do that now. I mean, might as well just do that now.
Do you need to go over it at all? To be honest, one of the main things, I guess, the thing that we're struggling with is traction, and it's not that we're struggling with it. We just waited to optimize the features that the creators were looking for, and so we've gone on this sort of bandwagon of getting some of them to getting interviews. We had 300 on the wait list. We've gone through about 100 of almost about 76 of them. Um, and we're just getting feedback as to what best benefits them. And so the thing that we're hitting is that because we've bootstrapped the entirety of the application and we've brought it to the point that it has end-to-end monetization and everything. The thing that most VCs, I guess, are looking for is either revenue or traction. So
Yep.
now I can tell them that we have 100 people using it roughly, but there's no revenue yet.
So,
And
but
that's mainly
where's the 100 people using it here?
76 people. They're on the application.
But where is that in here? I don't see any. If I do a look up to 76, I don't see that.
Oh, I didn't write it down here.
Is it in the deck at all?
Yes.
It is in the deck.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's part of your go-to-market, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I'll
Okay.
add it on there.
Okay, so that's one thing, right? I mean, the other part of it is like the narrative, like how do you get to this? How do you got to the 76?
Oh, personal. I called them one to one. It was a one to one sort of, they were part of my network. I called them, I asked them to get
Okay.
on the application, to try it, to give us feedback.
Okay.
Initially, I just wanted to see what features they most use, and most of them
And
were
then
sort of these high
sure. And then
intent. Go ahead.
how do you plan to go from 76 to 7600?
It's going to be very difficult, but we were hoping to. That's one of the things that we're sort of facing because ultimately we were hoping that it would have a creator to creator loop and people would tune in because they are they some of these 76 have already got an audience base, um, large audience base, and we
Okay,
were
so where
hoping
are
to
those
for
numbers?
them to
So my
use.
question would be, where are those numbers?
Oh,
Right.
I
So
we I yeah, I don't have that
yeah,
yet.
what it's, I mean, it's fine, right? It's like building out, like geometry, like you're building out a proof, right? Or doing
Mhm,
financial
mhm.
forecasting, right? Like it's the same thing as financial
Yeah,
forecasting. So you need to just create a forecast of like what could that loop potentially look like? Not I hope.
I see.
An
Hmm.
investor does not want to hear I hope, right? But like you could build a narrative, which is like we have 76. This is how we got them. We don't expect to
Hmm.
have me independently reach out to 76 again, but here's the viral loop of how we can leverage the 76. 76, if you can map out to me, each of them has, and let's just say for simple math, a million followers
Hmm.
each, right? So 76 times a million, we have a reach of 76 million. Now, what
Hmm.
engagement do we on initial whatever like conversations, we see about a 2% engagement rate from the sample audience,
Hmm.
for their followers, right? So 2% of 76 million is all of a sudden what, right? And then you start building a narrative for how this can have a viral loop, but you're using numbers and some
I
assumptions to
see.
substantiate that. That completely is missing here. There's way too many words for me to like you have to overly explain then as a talking point with each of these versus what you ideally would want is the VC to ask questions, which they're probably not going to read all this and they're going to ask you the question I just asked, which I know that you've mentioned to me before. That is
Hmm.
typically the thing that they're asking is like, all right, where's revenue and what's traction look like? Right. So like
Hmm.
you may not have the revenue narrative, but you could also build that potentially with again like a forecast, right? Like in based on market value, each user is theoretically worth $10 or $20, right? Like think about it from, like how Facebook was thinking about it when they bought WhatsApp or whatever, like how do they think about the monetization, like the value of a user, right? And how can you build that proof out where all of a sudden you're showing the potential to get to X number of users that you could then monetize?
I see. And do I have to highlight the fact that these creators already benefit from live formats and they understand how that converts into revenue instantly, and so they would
No, you
benefit
don't
from
you
the
don't have
live
to you just have to
instant?
show the math. You don't have to
I see.
tell the how.
I
Like
got you.
the how is because the how is like the how is the how is basically like snake oil, right? I mean,
Hmm.
not truly, but like it could in theory just be snake oil. Nobody fucking knows how it works, right? Like I mean, it happens all the time, like but the point of it is like how let's assume that it's not snake oil and let's assume that you're doing obviously you're building a real product, but like that's not the issue. The issue is like how do you
Yeah,
get to
it's
market with that, whatever it is. It could be the cure for cancer, it could
yeah,
be snake oil, it doesn't matter what that is, but like how are you getting that to market? How are you showing and proving that that's going to actually work with again based on assumptions and based on numbers, but like you need to show that and you have some traction and you just need to lean into what that is. Like you got
of
76
course.
because you knocked on doors. Great. How do you leverage the 76? Like you can build, I'm already imagining you could just tally up the number of followers of all the 76, right? Like
Hmm.
make some assumption around the engagement percentage, right?
Hmm.
And then attach a value by asking, chat or like figuring out what market rate is for a user on a social platform of this nature, right?
Hmm.
And then figure out like, okay, this is like, and these are the ways we could potentially monetize from them. And
I
this is
see.
the market value per user. All of a sudden it gives you a valuation for what you already have. And then yeah, and then it's just a different story. Then they're going to
I
ask
see.
you different questions.
Hmm. And
Then
do
they
I
might
talk
ask
about
you,
like the phase and the scale of like, do I narrow it down to different phases and then talk about the partnerships and the tools that
no.
we have in the
No,
communities?
no, just be prepared to answer that as part of a follow-up question, but you
I see.
want them to ask that. You want them to ask you how. You don't want to
Hmm.
explain to them how it's going to work. You want to
I see.
position it so that they see, oh, this makes sense. We know how you can do this, how you can take it to market. Now, how does it actually work so that what you just proposed is actually going to get there?
I see. So first I show them how I can scale that and based on the numbers. But then if they were to ask how you're going to do that, then I go into the how,
Yes.
like the different phases, how we're going to
Yeah,
scale it and what we're going to use and what essentially revenue streams these creators are going to have and
correct.
how much we're going to. I see. So the
Yeah.
other way around, I essentially focused on the how because I felt like I had to prove that to them. You're saying they need more data, they need
Yeah,
numbers as to
well,
what
but
you're
you
doing
see,
with the 76 that are tangible.
yeah, and you already know this because you already came to me with this issue, right? Like you
Yeah.
know that this is the issue. You know the
Yeah.
traction is the issue, so why don't you lead with the traction,
Yeah. Yeah. It's just
right?
proving to be the hardest for me to.
You just gotta be
Yeah.
creative. Like I
Yeah.
mean, talk to somebody that does financial forecasting, right? Like financial forecasting, especially in startups, like even with publicly traded companies. I mean, it's just like there's an art form to it, like you
Yeah.
figure out how to create M&A is the same thing, right? It's like it's all
Mhm.
just creatively using math to get the highest possible valuation. And you're just using the same kind of ideology, right? It's like how do you position math to then create the most you're going to make assumptions and you're going to just justify those assumptions, but you're going to find market rates, right? But like you do those things to spin up a number that's very attractive.
I see. I love that. I love the forecasting idea. I didn't think about it that way because then I'll give them real tangible results as opposed to
Yeah,
just
you rather have
how we're
somebody
gonna.
be like, that looks promising. Now, how do you do
Hmm.
that?
Hmm.
Versus you're explaining a how, and they have no idea what the outcome is.
Yeah, sure. And they'll probably think, why haven't you done it? I guess in the past month or so.
Yeah, I mean, think about it, right? It's like, I mean, think about any other context, right? From dating to buying a home to you investing in something else, right? Like any of these scenarios, nobody wants to, you don't want to hear the story of like the process of how somebody's going to prove they're a good person to you, right? Like,
Mhm.
show me you're a fucking good person,
Tell me.
right? And then
I see.
just that's all you care about. Just show me the outcome. I don't really care about the how, but if I have some questions, I'll ask you along the way. But if you're showing me the outcome, that's what I want
Mhm.
to see. I want to know what that looks like.
I got you. And then final question, I guess for me, and not even for the VC interviews, is that when approaching creators, do you think that I should focus on a certain, I guess, niche or just spread the net wide? And then, because I was trying to kind of figure out how
Spread the
best
net
the
wide and
product.
spread the net wide, but listen, like actively, proactively listen and follow what the market tells you.
Yeah,
I think what
because
you
I've been
need to
surprised, to
do,
be honest. Yeah.
yeah, and what you need to do is you need to indicate like what does success or failure for a specific subsegment actually look like? And then you need to be binary with the decision because you can't play favorites. You're going to be
Hmm.
binary with the decision of what subsegments of the market actually are valid and which ones are not.
I like that.
And that's
Sure.
why make sure you make it binary before you do the exercise so
Hmm.
that you know it's a black and white scenario. They
Okay.
pass or they fail.
I see. And then is there going to be a point where if they would obviously talk about the revenue and why it hasn't materialized. If I were to lean
Again,
into the referral
financial
driven
numbers.
creator.
Don't
Hmm.
talk about
Okay,
how. Don't talk about how. Just be
I
like
see.
each user this. This is how potentially we can get there.
Okay, all right, I got you. Thank you, Chris.
Yep. Cool. Um, yeah, I know we're over the hour and I don't want to like overkill on information overload, and so we'll cover these two in a future session. I'll maybe do be able to cover at least another one next week. But we'll continue to add to these and we'll intersperse them throughout. But between now, next week, you guys had your stretch goals from last week. Feel free to continue to ask in the WhatsApp group. I know I have to get a past few weeks. I have a couple of them uploaded already to YouTube now. I'll share the links this during this week. from the past sessions as well. Cool. Any other questions before we pop off? Good. Cool, guys. I'll catch you all next week. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
All right.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.